Why are we here, ladies and gentlemen? And I will wait till you see my screen because often it takes a little bit, it takes some time before we have the screen on. Side, yes. Why are we here, ladies and gentlemen? Things become always easier when we know what we are doing and why we are doing things. And as I was saying, this webinar is about vocational excellence, but vocational excellence as such is not a goal at itself. It's not a final achievement. So what we actually aiming for is, for example, that we're anticipating specific regional labor market challenges. For example, in renewable energy, you want to collaborate on offshore energy because there is a specific need for workforce in that sector. Something very specific where you would like to anticipate your training on. We also see a lot of digital developments, greening developments, sustainable economy. So what it is all about is that we have to become more flexible and more responsive to labor market needs and innovations that are surrounding us.
Pauline,
yes.
Your slides are not moving. You're not showing the presentation in slide mode. Presentation mode.
That is not good. So what do you see actually?
Now we see the way you work in PowerPoint, not the presentation mode. Now we see the second slide, but also the panel on the left with all the slides. Yeah. Now it's correct.
Do you see it moving now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you see anticipating specific regional labor market challenges.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so why are we here? Things become easier when we know what we're doing. And as I was saying, there are, for example, for your region or for your sector, there might be very specific labor market challenges like shortages of personnel in renewable energy or in the greening sector. So there are all kinds of developments where you would like to anticipate upon with your vocational excellence. Inclusivity, innovations, sustainable energy and economy. So actually what it is all about is that we become more flexible and more responsive to labor market and innovations with our training offer. So basically, vocational excellence is the way to get there. So we are on a journey together, ladies and gentlemen. So vocational excellence is a way to get where we want to be. And of course, we can ask ourselves, okay, but what exactly do we have to do? It means that we have to set up structural international collaboration with industry, because otherwise we don't know what industry wants. It means also that we have to include data and innovations to update our curricula, include work-based learning, maybe also developing short courses for upskilling of workers. So what you are going to do and how you are going to do that depends, of course, on your aim. IntVE has carried out a survey among partners who are already in the process of vocational excellence. And it seems that especially enhancing collaboration with the private sector to design and deliver relevant and responsive training programs, that it is a real challenge. Where to start, how to start, with whom, what do I exactly have to do? It seems to be a very large challenge. It's exactly the aim of today. So we would like to give you some inspiration on this topic. And on the same time, we also would like to hear what are your challenges in this field. Because I am confident that you can be very experienced in work-based learning, but it might also be that you have specific challenges in, okay, but how do I, for example, apply research in my training curriculum? Do you see this next slide, Jolien? Okay, great. Then it's working. we asked you upon registration, because we were obviously curious, where are you in the state of vocational excellence? And it seems that we have a very diverse audience. It varies from we did not yet start, from beginners, which means that, okay, we started with a partnership, but we are not yet running. It can also be that you already put some activities in place, but there's still room for improvement. And some of you say, well, actually, vocational excellence is our daily practice. Of course, it's not so black and white as it is stated here, because you can be advanced in some topics and in other topics more beginner, and the other way around. But it is very clear that we are all on the same ride, and we are facing challenges, and there is no fixed way to get there. There's no one size fits all. And that's something that we have to take care, that we have to keep in mind as well. There is something very interesting, because you also indicated from which country you are. And we see that today we have a very, very nice geographical spread. We have a good representation from Europe, from the ETF partner countries, from Sahara Africa. So we have a very, very rich composition of our team, actually. So you are all joining us on our ride. And that's interesting, because when I was saying, well, it's all about setting up collaborations, well, international collaborations are very important, because, for example, the topic of offshore energy, it might be even more important to collaborate with a partner abroad who is having the same issues and the same challenges, rather than collaborating with a partner in your own country in a rural area. So topics at regional level can be very similar, crossing borders. We are on the right. And of course, your plan is always to go in a straight line from A to B. Flat surface, no wind, you go with your bike and you end somewhere when you want to be. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is often this case. So you face many, many difficulties and many challenges, and it's a challenge how to get out of it. Well, that's actually what we're going to do today. So we give you some inspiration and tools. And this is also where the project Internationalizing Vocational Excellence jumps in, to help you, to support you in reaching that finish line. And please remember also that in the first case, when you have a flat surface, you only learn to ride the bike on a flat surface. And in reality, you also learn to swim, you learn to dive, you learn to sail, to climb, etc. So we should also see it as a very rich experience. And I'm talking from my side. I will now give the floor to Jolien von Uden from the European Training Foundation. And she will jump more in detail in the project Internationalizing Vocational Excellence, and in particular, what's in it for you and how you can benefit from the results. Well, Jolien, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pauline. Am I sharing my screen now? Yes.
Yes, we see you.
Presentation mode. Great. So good morning, good afternoon, or maybe even good evening, but I don't think so, looking at the map Pauline presented before. And welcome to this webinar, the first webinar in a series of webinars. And let me briefly introduce this webinar is part of our Internationalizing Vocational Excellence project funded by the EU, which we implement as the European Training Foundation. And for you who don't know the European Training Foundation, we are an EU agency, and we support transition and developing countries to make to harness the potential of the human capital development by working on the reform of the training, education, and labor market systems. We are based in Torino, in Italy, but we work mainly with partner countries surrounding the European Union, which you can see here on the map. So as part of our work, we have introduced the ETF network on excellence already in 2020, and this network has been growing. At the moment, we have 328 countries participating in the network, and I believe many of you attending today are also part of the network. And based on the experiences there, we started the work on the Internationalising Vocational Excellence, so the EU-funded project. And this is really a project to support the development of vocational excellence internationally. So also to emphasize the international dimension of vocational excellence, which was nicely reflected on the map Pauline presented to us earlier on. And with this project, we would really like to support centers to enhance their vocational excellence. And the project is for centers with different levels of experience. And it's good to see today as well that we have these different levels of experience represented in the webinar. We focus not only on experienced centers of vocational excellence, also starting centers of vocational excellence, but also newcomers to the concept who would like to know more about vocational excellence and start working on vocational excellence. We do this by offering several support services, and this support is guided also by the International Self-Assessment Tool for Centers of Vocational Excellence, IZATCOVE. IZATCOVE is an international self-assessment tool for centers of vocational excellence and consists of 3 dimensions: teaching and learning, partnership and coordination, and governance and funding. And each of these dimensions, again, is divided into 23 criteria in total and 577 indicators. This often sounds very overwhelming, but we tried to cover the whole concept of vocational excellence, and it's up to centers themselves to select those criteria and indicators that are relevant to your center in your context. And the conceptualization is based on the Erasmus Plus call for centers of vocational excellence. Today, I will not present too much about the tool. We have had separate webinars on that, but I will present a short video that explains a bit more, and then I will move to the other topics. And I realize that I then need to start sharing again to include the sound. Okay. Let me try a different way. Sorry, the video is not working. I will go directly to the video.
Introducing IZATCOVE, the new EU tool designed to help vocational institutions. Introducing IZATCOVE.
Okay, let me try again. Sometimes you have these technical hiccups. I think now you also see all the other videos oh, no. I'm really sorry. I don't know what is happening. Okay, let me explain IZATCOVE myself. Or maybe I can ask Serena, are you managing to get the video ready? Okay, last attempt.
Yeah, I think it should work now. Don't have the sound now.
Jolien, if you want, I have it, but I can also share the link in the chat if you want to go.
Okay.
And proceed as you prefer.
It's working now, right?
No, we don't see the video.
Using ISAT Cove, the new EU tool designed to help vocational institutions chart a course to excellence. Centres of Vocational Excellence are model institutions that represent the best in vocational education across all of their practice, teaching, business partnerships, governance, and more. ISAT Cove shows what Centres of Vocational Excellence do best and helps you to compare your institution with them. You can conduct self-assessments focused on the specific criteria and indicators most relevant to your goals. ISAT Cove facilitates the engagement of all your staff and stakeholders in the evaluation process. ISAT Cove aggregates evidence to help you and your school to make objective self-assessments and share the lessons learned. It assists in target setting and tracking progress. For institutions that work collaboratively, ISAT Cove facilitates joint self-assessment, shared targets and collective improvement. ISAT Cove's international database can help you to gain insights from peers all over the world, identify growth opportunities and make progress on the pathway to excellence.
So it finally worked. Great. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So that is ISAT Cove. And in parallel with the developments on ISAT Cove, we are also working on getting recognition, working on vocational excellence. And centers that implement ISAT Cove can get the Committed to Excellence certificate and badge. And we are currently piloting also a vocational excellence certificate with 4 different centers, which would also, the first one, Committed to Excellence, only shows that you're committed to work on vocational excellence. And the second, the certificate, will also look at the performance levels, but that we are still piloting. But then you've conducted, for example, the self-assessment or your own evaluation of where you are in relation to vocational excellence. And then you probably would like to continue working on vocational excellence, to keep enhancing the level of vocational excellence of your center. And so with IntVE, Internationalizing Vocational Excellence, we are also creating resources you can use to keep working on vocational excellence, to learn from others. And this way we can advance vocational excellence together. So a first entry point is the website you see here on Centers of Vocational Excellence, part of the DG Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion website. And we are working on making it really an entry point for all you would like to know on vocational excellence. And we collect their guidelines and toolkits. We are working on the vocational excellence library. We publish events related to vocational excellence. There are frequently asked questions, so really an entry point to start working on vocational excellence. And we will share the link in the chat. One of the other things we are currently working on is what we now call a cookbook on vocational excellence, which stems from a request we got during the focus groups we conducted at the start of this part of the project. And Pauline referred to that before as well. And there were often questions like, could you prepare an FAQ on how to become a center of vocational excellence? Or is there a roadmap on how to become a center of vocational excellence, a recipe? So what we are working on now is to identify basic ingredients, different recipes, working on different areas of vocational excellence. And this is work in progress. And we will present this cookbook in the first quarter of 2025. And we will work on resources related to the different ingredients, recipes, but also stories of COVES, because one of the things that was emphasized often in this focus group as well is that you would like to learn from others. So we will include stories that show how others have been working on these different recipes. An important resource we think is the e-library, and the e-library should be launched in December, where we have collected over 400 resources related to vocational excellence. And here we started also with the resources developed by the Erasmus Plus funded COVIS. We are now uploading these resources in this e-library, and this way you will have access to many resources related to different areas of vocational excellence. The e-library will also become available through the website on vocational excellence. And then why we are here together today is that also during the focus groups, the starting phase of the current phase of the project, we try to identify areas of focus areas, priority areas where you would like to see more resources developed or having resources more easily accessible. And so we asked, based on the ISAT-COVE, for which of the criteria that providers, centers of vocational excellence would like to see more resources. And this might also be a way to guide you with all the finding the right resources in the e-library, where there will be many, but in these knowledge packages, we will try to focus on some specific resources related to a specific topic. And from the needs analysis, we learned that there is a need expressed to develop more resources or to have resources more easily accessible in the areas of criterion 1, skill provision is relevant and responsive to the labor market and to societal needs, and to PC1, partnership and coordination 1, collaborate sustainably and effectively with enterprises to design, deliver, and improve training and skills acquisition. Then we also found out that there is they are interconnected, these two areas, that there is a need to focus more on governance and funding 2, engages actively in the development of local, national, and international skill systems, and governance and funding 3, jointly creates and coordinates a skills ecosystem with a strategic approach to innovation, smart specialization, and socio-economic development. So the journey we also start together today is based on these previous focus groups and the survey we conducted. And during the webinar today, we invited already a Center of Vocational Excellence to share their experiences. But we also really would like to use today's webinar to hear from you what challenges you are facing, what questions you have in relation to the topic. And we might not be able to answer all these questions today, but we will take them into account when further working on developing these, what we now call knowledge packages. And we will have a second round of webinars in the first quarter of 2025, where we will present the final knowledge packages, where we also will have different speakers answering, hopefully, the questions you have today. And so for us, this webinar today is very important to hear what your needs are, so we can really try to ensure that we meet your needs with the development of these knowledge packages. And with that, in case of any questions, you can contact us at IntVE@ETF.europa.eu. Also with any additional questions related to ISAT-COVE or any of the other product support services we are working on. Over to you, Pauline.
Thank you very much, Jolien, for your very clear presentation. In the meanwhile, there was already a question about, can we have the link to the video? And Serena, she put already the link in the chat. So if you would like to rewatch the video, which we would strongly recommend, obviously, or to share it in your organization, the link is in the chat. There was also another question from John, and he said, we applied for the Take ISAT-COVE. How long will it take to get the link to the assessment? Can you respond to that, Jolien?
what we do with IZCove is that there is always a registration process. And so if you applied, we probably received from you the letter of commitment. And after that, a coach will be allocated to support you in implementing IZCove. At the moment, we are doing a guided rollout, still further improving the tool, and we support all the schools that implement, all the centers that implement IZCove with a coach who supports your school in designing, planning, designing, and implementing the self-assessment. So if you didn't hear anything from us, we are now with the working on the preparations for the third wave. If you send us a letter, you will be contacted by the coach in December, but you can always write us an email, and I will share the email address in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, Jolien. And I think it's very good that you underline how this process goes, actually, that it is not just ticking in the box, but there is really support in terms of coaching and how to implement it and how to use it. Because tools as such are not the answer. We have to do the work. So it is very good when you have support in that sense with you. There is also a question on where can we see the criteria and indicators of IZCove? Is there information on that? Can people already have insight in, okay, what is it something for me or not? Can I jump in or not?
Yeah. So also in this case, you can send us an email and we can provide you access to the demo version of IZCove. But in this regard, we would also recommend you, and we will share the link with you, to watch one of the recordings of the info sessions on IZCove, as it explains more in detail what IZCove is, what it means to implement IZCove, and what you need to consider when you would like to decide whether or not to use IZCove.
Okay, and these info sessions are organized on a regular basis?
They are always organized in preparation of a next wave. So we are now working on the third wave. The info session was in October, so we will share this recording.
Okay, yeah. So people who would like to maybe join, they can rewatch Yeah, okay, that's very good. Okay. If you have any other burning questions, you can put them in the chat, so we will keep track on the chat as well. Jolien, thank you very much for your explanation on internationalizing vocational excellence and the IZCove tool in particular. I think that's very useful in making the next step forward. We go now over. I'm very pleased, actually, to introduce you an external speaker. She's Sietske Oudekerken. She's from Juverta for the green sector, and she is working on urban greening, an international Cove Center of Vocational Excellence, peace and lives greener and healthier. Sietske, are you on board?
Yes, I am. I hope when I start talking that my screen will pop up.
It is.
Yes? Oh, fine. Thank you.
Welcome, Sietske. Good to have you on board. And we invited Sietske, and we already had a discussion in advance before we started this webinar. And we really had the feeling that it is a very vibrant and active and dynamic international cooperation. So we want to hear everything about Sietske. But can you first explain in one sentence your project idea? Because you have to start with an ambition, a dream. What do you want to achieve? Where did it come from? Can you explain more about that?
Yes, one sentence is always difficult for me, but like you said, I'm always wanting to get into details. So later on the presentation, I made a presentation to tell you something more. But the thing is that we had a sentence, wouldn't it be great if we share knowledge and experience about urban greening? And with urban greening, we mean the physical green in cities, so the trees, the branches and things like that. So that was our main starting point. So that's like when I really thought about it, this was the first step into working international.
Okay, can you take us with you in your journey actually? Yeah, because then you come to the point that you have to find partners. You have to set up a sustainable partnership. Where do you start? How do you keep them on board? Can you explain more about that? So take us with you in your journey.
Yes, I made it quite like short because I think it's an inspiration session. So if you have any question, just drop in and wave. I have some slides and some topics, so then we have the discussion possible from the chat or have some extra information. Like they said, I'm one of the regional captains from the COVI European Platform for Urban Greening. We started in 2020, and at the moment we're writing our final report. The partner, like there were so many things, so I went back from 2019 when we started writing the application. Where to start? Like I said, it's like building a dream. You don't know how, or building your house, I'm sorry. You don't know if you know that you have a front door, you have windows, you have a roof, but you really don't know how the house will look. So that's what we always said to each other. Let's have like all the rules and regulations into it, but have some time if it's going to be a villa, is it going to be in a forest? It depends on so many things, so we wouldn't get that as a main topic. A little bit back, we already had a hotspot, a green livable city. It's in Dutch, so that's why I'm translating it. And we already within VOCATONAL working with companies and with municipalities, non-profit organizations to implement the newest topics into our education. VOCATONAL is an education center for VET, for level 1 until level 4. But we also have a lifelong learning participant, and then we have like courses in level EQF level 1 until 5. But also we have pre-vocational students that are students from 12 till 16. So we are a very broad education center with 52 locations within the Netherlands. As a hotspot, we are the center of every knowledge, like a knowledge center about the green livable city. So it's about water, it's about climate, it's about heat. Everything about this topic is working. We're working with. But then we had, and I always say, it's all started with coffee. It's a little bit of a funny thing, but maybe some of you know the Catapult. It's a Dutch organization who is expert in private-public partnerships. And they drank a cup of coffee with us and told us about Erasmus Plus and about the EACEA. I always have to pronounce that very slowly. It's the European Education and Culture Exclusive Agency. And they told us about the COVIs, and they saw our website, and they said like, oh, what are the topics now what has to be changed in a very short period? And then we said, at this moment we're building in the Netherlands, but also in Italy, the green flats like Wonderwoods. They are like big forests are only on a big building. But our students are learned to work like in gardens and in parks. So it's quite different to do the maintenance on the building when you're in a garden or you're hanging on a building. And we also have a problem in the Netherlands with the labor market. There are too many jobs and we don't have the persons to do the job. So we have to overthink how can we make things easier, effective, and that people are really in the job can develop themselves, like the lifelong learning. But also because of the rapid developments in the field of urban greening, we saw that we are always 5 years behind in education because the technical part of our jobs is rapidly developing with more biodiversity, more beautiful systems, and we are not close enough as education. So that was one of the 3 topics we said, maybe we should do an application. And I want to be honest with all of you, that the application was more meant for ourselves and our partners to reflect where are the gaps. So we never thought we would got funded. It's like a little bit, but it helped us so much in very getting the dots, like, oh, that's the problem, and that's the problem. So it helped us a lot with getting focus. So with the coffee, we described like the transitions in urban greening. Now this is the building I talked about. It's at the moment finished. It's in Utrecht, center of the Netherlands, and it has quite a difficult, different way of working. Trees on 7th floors, on 14th floors, and things like that. That's not quite the same as getting a tree into your garden. So that's one of the important thing, and the most important thing I've learned from the companies, because we were in a discuss group. I had to translate further first with the coffee. We had a director from a green company. We had people from Catapults, like with the knowledge about PPP, like public-private partnerships. We had someone from lifelong learning on the table. I was on the table for my knowledge about greening. My colleague knows a lot about applied research. We had some other colleagues knowing a lot about internationalization and the works. So we had like a very good group with a lot of think force, we always call it in Dutch. It's not a good translation, but hopefully you understand, because everyone had his own quality and knowledge bringing into the application. And then the director of the big green company in Holland said, like 10 years ago, we were always last in line. The building was already there, and then there had to be green. And with this project as like a landmark, we started 10 years ago with already designing with the architects. So it's quite different than when you were last in line or first in line. So you also have to teach your students and employees what is different. Then you have to have different conversations. So that was like a very important part, the 4 topics that we had to eliminate. So it was like the different kind of way to use green in the cities, the labor market. We don't have enough people to work in it. We really think that we have to work together because of the technology, because we had that's co-creation is like the key, but also the processes in greenery are so different from 10 years ago. We have to bring it back to the education. So that's more like the start of it. And I think it's easy. I don't know if there's already chats, but maybe we can cut it here and then maybe do some questions, because otherwise I will go into the more detailed part of the project. Are there already questions? I'm looking at Pauline.
Yes, I think you're highlighting some very important elements, also in terms of partnerships. Because what you were saying, actually, you had a dream, but you have to make it a common dream, because your dream is not necessarily the dream of other partners. And I mean, in order to avoid it is your project, it's a common project. Did you make that transition? How to make sure that it is also relevant for the other partners to join you? What was in it for them? Do they do exactly the same, but then in their own country, or how to create a common dream? Let's say it like that.
I always thought it was like playing chess, the partnerships. And what I mean on it, you always have to overthink 4 steps ahead. Like, I can tell my dream, but it has to be a common dream or a shared dream. So what we did is we defined some real topics that people really they couldn't say no to. Like, do you want less or more biodiversity? There's no one saying, oh no, in our sector less biodiversity is okay. So we had the topic biodiversity. we knew from the companies that climate adaptation is in so many ways an important part on getting the heat stress, but also the water problems, like keeping the water in the city and things like that. So that's what we called climate adaptation. And then one of my colleagues said, yeah, but then we are already in terms on solutions, like how can we maintenance and things like that. So we did the third topic, and that was social value of green. What does green with your mind? And we were, what I said, we started in 2019. The world was quite different from 2020 when we started. And we were so happy that we combined that. So when we wrote in 2019, we made a 2-pager with our explanation, our story, like storytelling about why these 3 topics we would prefer to work on. But we really want to work with companies and schools from around Europe, because climate adaptation in Holland is quite different from in Spain than in other countries like Finland, Norway, and things like that. So that's what we've tried. So we overthought the process quite firmly. So we made a 2-pager, but also asked questions back, like, oh, what are you already doing with it? Is it something already in your curriculum? So we didn't say, hey, we have a present, please open it. We said, oh, we maybe have a present, but we really want to know what you need. So we asked first, like, the list for the present. What do you want as a present? So that's why I did this picture of chess, because if you look very carefully, it's not a wooden chess. It's made from Lego. And Lego is, you can build everything you want, but one thing you always have to do, you have to be firm, because otherwise it will collapse. So I was very working from the Lego principle. You can build what you want, only if you build together, you have to make like a template. So we made the template with a 2-pager. And I think that helped a lot. So we didn't say, hey, we want to do a project, because we already thought within a COVID, there's a lot of money you get funded. And we really didn't want people to get joined because of the money. We really wanted to have them for the topic. So we never talked about the money at the first period. We said there is money, but we don't know how we're going to share it. So it's more like on the value of the topics. And then you get the problem. I thought I make funny pictures, so it's not very green everything, but you want to have the partners. We had 2 partners. I really want to tell our story in Denmark. And we already did some good projects with this school in Denmark. And the importance of it was that you already have like a relationship and you know how this person works. And we said, who do you think you want to invite to our party? Because you always, everyone's joining maybe a party, a birthday party, and you know maybe 20% of the participants or 40% or 60%. But we were at a party and we knew 3 people, but those people knew people. And we really want to have, like, in the common working together, we trusted our partners who we joined on their experiences with partners we never work with, but where they worked very closely. So our Carolina from Denmark knew Victor from WorldSkills Romania. And she did the first interviews with him. Hey, we have something. Is it something for you? This is the story. And then after like the first enthusiastic reaction, we, as you've heard, jumped in and asked, hey, what do you need? And so everything collapsed. So at the end, we had a partner from Finland and a school and a company. We had a company and a school from every country. So Denmark, I always have to change. The Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, Romania, Czech Republic, and Spain. And then we had a solution for the problem on our topic. Urban greenness is quite a political topic the last 5 years. So we overthought we're not that capable on the political part. So we asked someone who we knew, was a board member of the European Landscape Contractors Association. And he's in Brussels talking with all the partners there. So we asked, can you join on that part? So we really thought, what do we need? Which topics do we need? Which partners? And trust your partners. They know people. Everyone knows everyone. So that's why I always make it like the birthday party. You trust, relationship, and really knowing on the topics that we've wrote, what do we need? So that's like a little bit how the story.
Yeah, that's very important. You select your partners in a way that they are relevant to achieve your objective. So they're not randomly chosen. You really look for complementary and not like it doesn't make sense to have 10 clones around the table. No, you want to have expertise that is complementary to achieve your objective. I think that's very important. There was a question in the chat and from Elena, and she is asking, is there a more thorough analysis or specific context as a foundation for your project idea, or was it an idea that started from your interest?
It started with a cup of coffee and our own interest in VOCATONAL. But we knew that the topic was already in Europe, and talking to partners in other meetings, the topic on biodiversity was already popping up a lot. And so we found common grounds, but we didn't know where the common ground was. So I told some Dutch colleagues who said, hey, I want to start a COVI. And then I said, it's like a train journey to Europe. I really didn't know where to end, and that's something that's quite difficult for me, because I always want to be in the result. What are we going to achieve? But in this project, the last 4 years, I've learned that the results can be like on a horizon. It can be left, it can be right, but you have to do it with the partners who are joining the project, and not only the schools. I really want to thank the companies who join, because we have some technical who know everything about roof systems. We have some companies who really are on the inclusion, like all the levels are working on it. So every company also brings their own qualities and experience with them. And I learned that the group of people you work with are maybe more important than the results you really want to achieve, and that's quite different in an application to write down. But we said we want to do something on biodiversity, but the first year we want to analyze what's really needed. So first year we did a lot of interviews with various companies, municipalities, everyone who's working like in the physical green area. And that helped us to achieve, what do we want to learn about biodiversity? What do we want to know about it? So we build it into our project.
Yeah, and Elena, thanks you for your answer. So you replied very well.
Thank you.
What is your factor for success for sustainability? Because you're saying we're in the end phase, and what then? Is it fully implemented in your training program? Is it a partnership that remains sustainable afterwards? I mean, I think that is the biggest challenge. There is actually no end station, because you commit yourself in a partnership that lasts and for more challenges in this field, I suppose.
Yeah. I first of all really want to mention that we started in 2020 and we couldn't travel. So we had our first meetings with 100 participants online. And that was quite difficult to know people, because even now the name is under under my face, so you don't have to remember it. So we really tried to cooperate, but then at the moment it was possible, even though we had a lot of tests and things like that, we all flew to Finland to meet each other in person. And that was the moment that our partnership went as crazy. And what we've learned from that moment, we just started to know each other. I translated a Dutch sentence like, many roads go to Rome. You can go to Rome from Paris, from Berlin, but even from Bucharest, you can go to Rome back. And that's very important, that we've learned that every country has its own possibilities, but also challenges. One of the challenges we've learned after 1 year is that, like in Romania, there were no qualifications for an urban greener. And we were like, oh, but then we can build so much materials, but they can't be used in the school. So then it's only going to be courses. What we've managed from the colleagues from the COVI in Romania, I'm very proud of them, with the knowledge they had and the network they had in Romania. There is now an EQF level 3 urban greener qualification. So people can be taught in, there is now education possible for this topic. And I'm so proud that they did. And I asked them, like, what was it? Because in the preparation, I thought it's a Dutch version I'm telling. I really want to put some other partners into this presentation. They said, because of what we've learned from you and what you shared about urban greening, we knew what we had to ask and what kind of qualification we needed. So it's a lot about sharing and caring. That's like the most important. And then they had like the companies where they always think it's quite slow, these projects. They're normally on speed all the time. And then they said, but we really want to talk about problems we face in our work. So this was a hackathon with students, teachers, and people from employees. And they all brought a case into, like, hey, I have a system and it doesn't work. I need some force to overthink the system, where the problems could be and how can we solve it. From those 5 topics, 4 topics are not a problem anymore, because they now have the solutions and it's already made in different countries. So that was 2 days. And that was something I've learned also. We always in 4 years, and we want to achieve in this. And this is now every year we do one deep dive or hackathon on one topic, and every company can bring something in and other countries can use the materials from it. So it's not only in the Netherlands that it's going to be fixed, but also in Romania, Finland, Denmark, it's all possible. Then we said our students are very they're not that keen on going abroad for internships anymore. After COVID, there's something that is not that normal anymore. So we built International Urban Greening Weeks, where students do quite the same with students from all our partners, so from all the schools we have, work together on a challenge. They speak English, they know something about the cultural part, but also know something about urban greening. So it's like a work week abroad. And even though that's the sad part, I have to tell you, we just heard that our scale up didn't get approved. So we're now 1 year, but we're already arranging, in case of sustainability, there are already 4 countries who said we're still going to do it. So we're already sending 20 students each from every school to another country to have this experience. So that's one thing we already thought about. When we didn't get approval, we still can share and care for each other. Then you have teachers. And we said, like, oh, what do teachers need? This is a food soil web for people who are not that common in this area. Soil is at this moment more topic, because if you can plant trees, but if your soil is not good, they're going to die either way. Not maybe after a year, but after 10 years. And that's not sustainable. So there are some colleagues in Finland who are very good at this topic, and they said, I can build a 3-day course. And there are at the moment more than 50 teachers from all our partners are taught in this new system about the food soil web. So what does the soil does? Oh, that's a different sentence. What is soil for the greenery? But the funny thing is I already had some teachers who said I'm not able to go abroad because I have also a caring for my wife, so I can't go to Finland. At this moment, the teachers who went there are building the course for our Dutch colleagues. So that we already said like sharing is caring. So please tell people, help them out. Maybe you can make a lesson about it, share it with each other. So that's the teacher part. And then this was my headache for the last 2.5 years. But I'm very proud of it, so I'm smiling already. I see it even in my own screen. We said the living building where I started with is so much different from a garden. And then I said, I have a dream. I would love to have a green experience center. And then a colleague of mine, I think he got his retirement a year ago, said, oh, maybe we can do this. So he had the same idea as me. And at this moment, we just opened it 2 months ago. We have an educational roof. The left picture is on top of the roof. And it's like from an easy way to having a green roof on the right side of the roof until really a garden. So our students can do the maintenance, but also the data collection, because we put applied research into this roof with a dashboard that students can read. The company's making the dashboard for us, and we tested if it's usable for every level. On the left side, you can't see that good at this picture, but that's the part where we can learn to do the really to make the green roofs, like with the systems, getting them on and off so they can build green roofs. And then we had like the facades, and we put 11 different kind of facades green, and you see some of them at the picture on the right. And that's the only place in, I thought, Europe that every system is next to each other, that at the moment is used in the greenery. And I was very happy because a lot of companies are like, I really don't know the English word, concurrenten. Can you help me out a little bit, because I only know the Dutch word?
Yeah.
Yeah, competitors are all hanging next to each other. And they're very proud of it. So I talked to 2 of them yesterday in another meeting. He said, I really think it's funny. Never ever, I saw this. And for our students and the students from abroad, because they were coming to get trained here, said it's so nice to see the good points, the I don't know, and already and very proud also about that, the Technical University of Delft. Yes, already asked if they can do measurements in those facades. So then we also have data collection on that part. So you can see the roof was a roof on like, let's train. And at this moment, there can be students from primary school, because we made fences, so they're allowed to go on the roof. Never a primary school student can be on a roof, and now we can. We made it that our municipality in Houten, where this roof is, are already asking to get inspiration sessions for their the people who live here, so they can do like the sustainability. Our students from pre-vocational can join because it's fenced and they know about it. We have the technical parts, we have the data collection into it, we have facade green, and we have the normal roof. And at the end, they can hang over, because what I told you at the start, people are now hanging to do the maintenance, and you have to learn it, but also, do you want to hang on something like that? So if you say, how do you sustainability, we really thought in not what do we want in this 4 years? No, what does the target groups need? And they need sharing and caring. So it's a little bit like sentimental end, but I think it's needed.
Thank you very much, Sietske. And I think that your enthusiasm is already inspiring people to jump into the subject. I'm pretty confident about that, and you gave us a lot of inspiration on how to build partnership, how to keep the fire burning, how to start with your idea. Also, some nice suggestions for applied research. I see that you also have sometimes some very small activities. It doesn't have to be immediately big. So start small, because small steps can make a very big effort. And I think you illustrated very well that, for example, that International Week, it's a small, no effort activity, for example, with a very, very big impact on students and on teachers. So I think that is a very, very good source of inspiration. I think we can talk for hours on this subject.
Can I just do one last slide, because that's something about sustainability and projects. Sometimes we thought this can be done in this project. It's too on the sidewalk, and we can't get that into our topics biodiversity. So we already had 3 spin-off projects. There are already more information about us on the website, but that's also sustainability. Like Barcove is building applied research into your vet education. Greenview is about recruitment. Which kind of people really want to work in green? And Brief Green is a very technical, it's a new system from Spain. And they really want to test it in different countries. So we did an application for that. So that's also sustainability. Overthink, does it fit in this project? Do we have to make a new application on KA2, I thought it was.
Indeed.
So,
indeed. Yes.
And then I'm quite finished. So if you need more information.
Yeah, I think if people were not yet convinced, they're definitely now.
I hope,
can we share
because
your
it's very
slides?
nice.
Can we share the slides with the participants?
Of course.
Okay, so later on, and you see here the links as well for more inspiration. We can talk for hours, but we don't have the time. Time is always a worst enemy in this kind of situations. Because we would like to hear more about I mean the participants here in the room, experiences and challenges. So I go over to my colleague Willem Kleinendorst. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Yeah,
Willem,
indeed, would like...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we would like to make use of the 46 remaining participants in this room to gather a little bit of information. Because as Pauline, Jolien, and Sietske really nicely illustrated, is that there are many, many ways to start with your journey on vocational excellence. And there is an e-library that was created where all the courses, deliverables, and things that created are being uploaded. So that other courses don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now, I'm going to start presenting a Mentimeter. And I would like to use this Mentimeter to pick your brains a little bit on where we want to go with the resources that we have collected. Because as of now, it's a big, big database, and we would like to funnel it a little bit into the needs and the challenges that you are facing as starting coves, maybe as some more advanced coves. Bear with me for a second, as my PC seems to be struggling a little bit with uploading.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
You can see my screen now? Okay, that's perfect. So yeah, so this library, it contains everything from newly developed curricula to websites which have huge labor market databases, to guides and tools for teacher training, project reports and applied research reports in collaboration with the private sector. So that's a lot of very, very useful information. And as ETF has now asked many of the participating coves in the East Cove questionnaires, which are the 2 topics that are where you need the most resources and guidance on. And luckily, these are the 2 resource topics that already exist the most guidance on and the most resources on. So this first topic that we will be discussing today is to ensure that you have to collaborate with the private sector and to ensure that you have labor market responsive training programs. Now, then the question is a little bit like, where do we start? But first, I would like you all to join the Mentimeter. You can use the QR code in the top right corner, or you can just go to mentimeter.com and use the code you can see in the top part of the screen to join us. And if you have managed, please let us know by clicking on the thumbs up button in the bottom corner so I can see how many people are already joining. So in this first question, it's a little bit together, a little bit like how do you feel about your journey? There are many different rides because it's quite a ride going on the journey of vocational excellence. For some people, it might be a very steady train ride. We hope it's that way, but we also know that it's not always the case that way. Maybe you're stuck in a merry-go-round and you are encountering the same problems over and over and over again. So I'm kind of like curious to see where you land with this.
Willem, can you also share the link in the chat?
Of course. Perhaps Pauline, can you do that while I'm sharing my screen?
Yes.
So I can see we already have some people that are on a very extreme ride, like a roller coaster, going up and down, or a centrifugal ride, and others have quite a slow journey on a very calm hot air balloon. I think as of now we have 8 people who joined the Mentimeter. I think we'll wait a little bit more until people have found.
I think there's a nice diversity.
Looking at the time, Pauline, I think.
Yes, go further. Yeah. I think it's a very nice diversity of very slow rides, with some ups and downs towards the really hilarious shaker on the right bottom.
Okay, so yeah, it's nice to see the diversity, and I'm now curious because it's difficult to interact with each other here in such a webinar format. So I've thought of something here. Maybe we could use a little a word cloud. I would like you to maybe put into a couple of keywords what are the biggest challenges in working on vocational excellence, and be it on any type of topic, if it's applied research or if it's making labor market your curricula labor market responsive, or general collaboration with the private sector. Because I can imagine that if you're in a roller coaster, you know, sometimes it's going downhill and otherwise sometimes it's going uphill. So Yeah, I'm curious to hear from you what you encounter most as a challenge and where you, and this will help us in finding guidance documents for you and putting together the knowledge packages that you can use to. I can see someone in the chat already said nearly everything. That's very handy. That means that we can be very diverse in the materials that we will include in these knowledge packages. There we go. Wow, okay, that's going very quickly. I see already 12 responses and going. I can see most of them are on finding partners and collaborating with the private sector. Here we can, of course, include resources, networking resources such as the maps for vocational excellence centers, where we can find partners and we can see who is out there looking for partners in certain sectors. I can see that there are some on time management, and perhaps that's also human resource management. We can see if there's something we can include in that in terms of organizational management of a vocational center of excellence. And I can see that there are some that involve a little bit more, I think, the complexity, which also has to do with collaborating with partners from different sectors and all over Europe and outside of Europe, which brings in some complex collaboration aspects. Okay, thank you very much. This is all very useful for us, so we can analyze this later to see how we can categorize these challenges a little bit more. But let's dive a little bit deeper into these. So, of course, we are now trying to bundle these resources together so that they are readily available for codes who are starting, but also codes who are a little bit more further developed and down the line. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And here we have the knowledge package. We have kind of tried to cluster everything in 3 main categories. So there are guidance documents and readily available manuals to how to start partnerships and collaborate with, oh, there we go, with private VET providers. But also something that we often see is that VET providers or other starting codes are getting together funding from private sector players to invest in their training programs, be it in new machinery or, for example, the beautiful showcased project by Sietske, where they had this beautiful building where students and private sector players and universities could come together to research and learn how to work with virtual gardens and urban greening. And lastly, simply, how do you get people on the table to update your learning content that is relevant for the labor market and for society? Because oftentimes we notice that in the world of VET, we are thinking a lot about the labor market, but the labor market is not necessarily always thinking about us. So it's often a challenge to play yourself in the picture a little bit and make the
Are you there, Willem? We can't hear you.
Players in your ecosystem also think about. Is it better now?
Your line is a bit shaky, but I think we manage. And I think there is also a clear winner in this ranking, that there is definitely a need for partnerships and collaboration, how to set up, how to involve private sector, how to focus on the wider ecosystem outside only the scope of your school. And
exactly. So am I back online now?
yes, you are. Yeah. And I think it's also it makes sense, because it is a very, what Seiske was explaining, that is a very solid basis, your partnership. And we see also that networks or coves or sustainable partnerships or partnerships in general, why they're not working is often because of this basis.
Exactly. I think it's a very useful input. Perhaps we can move to the next set of slides, because this goes a little bit more, makes it a little bit more concrete already. Because as we said, there are different types of documents available in this e-library. Out of those 400 resources, I went through most of them, and I've been able to gather like 3 different types of documents and documentations that can help vet providers and starting codes. There we go, to along in their journey. So there's a lot of manuals and guidance documents, such as teacher training manuals, or how to engage your alumni with your vet college, and how to stay in touch with them. But also some more inspirational resources, such as case studies, readily available labor market studies that have been done with an applied research approach, already existing curricula, which might be very sector specific, but maybe there are some inspiration to be found there. And lastly, there are also some readily available research resources, such as large data sets containing labor market data, in which you can predict trends in the labor market in your area, but also readily available data collection tools, such as surveys for your alumni, and to gather information on how they are what their experience is as a new employee in the labor market, and if their skills are any use, or maybe some of the skills are less useful to them in the specific sector. So these are also always handy to have. But for us, it's now important to know, where should we focus on?
Yeah, because what Jolien and Willem already said, there are more than 400 resources. So in order to make a good selection and not to drop everything on your plate, we need to make a good selection, and also to provide you resources that are useful for you. And I think that we here have a clear winner as well, because you're really looking for inspirational resources, examples also specifically on specific topics in the field of vocational excellence. And yeah, I think that helps us definitely in ranking, categorizing, and looking for the best way to support you.
Perfect. Are there some more replies coming in? Slowly still, I see. So let's wait a little bit until more people have had the chance to engage. All right. So as part of the knowledge packages we are now developing as well, we are going to study 4 specific case studies. For this particular knowledge package that the webinar is about today, so engaging with the private sector to design and deliver relevant and responsive training programs, we are going to zoom into 2 specific centers of excellence to find out how, from A to Z, to find out their journey, where did they start, and how did they start with their funding and resources, how do they organize it internally. It starts with a cup of coffee, like Sietske said before, but it doesn't just end with a cup of coffee. You need to keep people engaged. Then there's also something that we often find that plays into how flexible COVs can be, is sometimes regional and relevant policies give COVs more freedom and more autonomy to design curricula and training programs, and less so with other partners. So as well, coming back to the nice examples that Sietske provided, is that in Romania, they didn't have an occupational standard for greening, urban greening just yet. And thankfully, by cooperating together, they could work that out. But this is something you have to find out along the way. So a lot of codes have already worked on this, and we can see if we can zoom in on that a little bit to provide you some information and guidance on that as well. I can see there is mostly a priority to see how the internal organization of codes is done and how to engage students and staff. That's interesting.
Willem, we saw before that time was sometimes a limitation or a challenge. We have the same challenge at the moment.
At the moment, yeah, 3 minutes left, I see. Thanks for the heads up, Jolien. I think, but this is already the last one. So I think this gives us a nice overview of where we want to focus on. And indeed, maybe highlighting the different regional policies in different parts of the world that can serve as kind of an inspiration source would be nice to zoom in on. As well as how our codes internally organized and how to involve staff and students. As I see now, external stakeholders are coming up as well. So I'll leave it open for a second longer. And then we can take this into regard when designing the case studies later on in the project. And lastly, do you have any suggestions or topics for the next webinar, which will be on a little bit more higher level, and so not so much on how do I design my training programs, but more on how to build lasting and sustainable partnerships, public-private partnerships with players in the ecosystem, and how do you engage the stakeholders there?
Yeah, because our next webinar will take place on Monday, the 25th of November. A lot of you have indicated that you would like to join both, so today and the next webinar. Well, of course, we would like to have, we already have the topic fixed, that was in the program, but of course we would like to take into account your ideas and suggestions as well, in order to make sure that the webinar is relevant for you and is tuned to your needs. And examples, indeed, well, we will have another external speaker, indeed. And maybe, Jolien, I see also a suggestion, examples of ISAT partners, project summaries, best practices. So I think we have some food for thought here.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes, I see also the step-by-step guide for becoming a COVI. So that's why we are working on a cookbook to work on vocational excellence. So that's work in progress, and we hope we can present, or we're aiming to present it to you in the first quarter of 2025.
Well, then I would like to thank everyone. With an eye on the time, we have now reached 11:30 in Central European time. So I would like to thank everyone for their valuable input that we can use to further develop the knowledge packages. And we hope to make it a one-stop shop for everyone.
Yeah. And Jolien, do you have some
on your journey to vocational excellence?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Willem, for your support in guiding us to identify the challenges. Jolien, I would like to give the floor also to you for final thoughts or takeaways or ideas for the next time. I think we had we heard some very interesting inspiration. We had some very good input. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank everyone also for the contribution. What we said at the start of the webinar, we would like to use these webinars to share experiences. Also now at the end, you asked for real experiences from Centers of Vocational Excellence. So this is also what we will be doing during the next webinar on the 25th of November. But also thank you very much for replying to this Mentimeter, because as said before, this is a journey where we collaborate, where we need to work together to ensure that we can create those knowledge packages that really addresses your needs. So thank you very much for your contributions. We will take them into consideration, or we will use them to further shape the knowledge packages. And we will use it to have a second follow-up webinar in the first quarter of 2025, where we will present this knowledge package and also share more experiences of different actors working on making training programs relevant, or creating relevant training programs meeting the labor market and societal needs. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward also to meeting many of you again during the next webinar.
Yeah, also from my side, thank you very much. Next webinar will take place on Monday the 25th indeed. Yeah, rest me only to say, well, have a very, very good day and stay in touch with each other, stay in touch with us. Let's keep the fire burning, because there is no beginning, there's no end, there is no one size fits all. So we have to help each other in reaching our goals and riding this ride. Thank you very much and have a very good day.
Pauline, ik denk dat de 9 resterende niet meer in de ruimte zitten. Zullen we hem eindigen?
Ja, in de opname stoppen. Ja.